Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
So have you heard the latest on Stroke and Robert Orr, DOJ, and his wife, Nellie? Do you know they were communicating by ham radio? She applied for a ham radio license during their investigation of Trump. All this time they were prepping the Trump dossier so that their communications couldn't be monitored by anybody. They're sitting in the deputy director of the FBI's office, and they're talking politics. They're talking politics. They're not talking the investigation. They're talking politics. Stroke is sitting here saying, well, I don't know. Your idea. He's talking to his mistress, Lisa Page. I don't know. Your plan, your theory here that Trump has no way of winning. I don't know. We need a backup plan. We can't count on that. They're talking politics inside the FBI director's office, the deputy director. Now we find out that Robert Orr's wife applied for a ham radio license. This is shortwave, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently the NSA doesn't monitor shortwave. That kind of surprised me. I know the NSA hoovered up everything. But the point is that they were looking for communications ability that could not be monitored during a so-called up-and-up investigation. I tell you, I'm getting so frustrated at people who say, look, we got to be able to understand that people of different political persuasions can conduct a fair investigation. Just because the investigators may be partisan Hillary donors or Hillary supporters doesn't mean they're not good lawmen. Why are we so obtuse? Why don't we see what's going on? Well, enough of us do, but it just... I know there are people that want to protect the reputation of the FBI, and there are people who want to protect the reputation of DOJ and all this at all costs because of the overall importance long term of those institutions. But for crying out loud, some of this stuff is just now getting to be beyond the pale and beyond any ability to rationalize it as what they claim it is, an above-board, fair, nonpartisan, unbiased investigation. It's quite the opposite. And I'll tell you something else that bugs me. You know, yesterday was crabby. Well, I'm crabby. Because I'll tell you why I'm crabby today. Because yesterday everybody is telling me how crabby they are. Today I got nothing but pessimism. You would not believe the emails. Pessimism, fatalism. You people don't know what I put up with here every day. It's incredible. Everybody dumps on me. Everybody tells me how mad they are, how depressed they are, how ticked off, how whatever. I can't do that with anybody. Do you realize I can't whine to anybody? I can't complain to anybody because when I do it, it's news. You should have heard what Rush told me the other day. Blam, blam, blam. And then it's everywhere. I have to hold everything in. Hang on. My alarm just went off here. I got to unplug the phone, make sure it doesn't charge too much. I have a technique here. There we go. Gun. So I have to, what do you mean, talk to the cat? How do I know the cat doesn't leak? Literally, I have to keep all this stuff in. I can't say a word to anybody about anything with confidence that it's going to stay where I tell them. And, well, there's other than Catherine, of course. But I mean, other than that, I can't tell anybody what I really think about things, what I'm really feeling about things. And, of course, I was never, I was raised not to share feelings anyway, and it was part of being a man back when I was raised. Speaking of being raised, what did I do? There is a, get this. This has nothing to do with anything I just brought up, but it just reminded me of something. A couple of tweets out there. Apparently, Donald Trump Jr. has just had his second 10-hour grilling session over a 20-minute meeting that he had. Donald Trump Jr., 20-minute meeting with the Russian honeypot. He's now had 2 9 or 10-hour interviews with investigators. And there's some reporter for some outfit named Stephen Dennis who tweets, Donald Trump Jr. has left the building 9 hours after arriving. He waved. He didn't comment. Hair still slick. Next they're going to accuse Trump Jr. of cornering the market on Brill cream or something. But that's not the point. Then there's somebody that responded to this tweet. Her name is Virginia Heffernan. She's a contributing editor at Politico. She has bylines at the New York Times. So, let me again read the Stephen Dennis tweet. Donald Trump Jr. has left the building 9 hours after arriving. He waved. He didn't comment. Hair still slick. Virginia Heffernan, Politico, also writes in the New York Times, my friend Anna taught Donald Trump Jr. in preschool in Manhattan. She asked him to move his mat one day, and he said, F you, B-I-H. He was 3. I need to ask you parents, and I could ask my brother about this, but I didn't think of it. How many of you parents, 3-year-old? I mean, my wife's nephew was just over at the house for a little Christmas party on Sunday. There is no way that 3-year-old kid even knows that phrase, F-U-B-I. How many of you with 3-year-olds routinely have them speak this way? Yeah, another investigation. But this is just, again, this is somebody tweeting from the Politico who writes at the New York Times with some hearsay. My friend Anna taught Don Jr. preschool in Manhattan. She asked him to move his mat one day, and he said, F you, B-I-H. He was 3. And then today is for you, Anna. I guess because they think Donald Jr. is in trouble, and getting in trouble here while his hair is slicked down is payback for telling his preschool teacher, F you, B-I-H, when he was 3. Now we learn these investigators are using shortwave radio, ham radio, to communicate with each other. They're voting on net neutrality today. Ajit Pai running the FCC. And, folks, the panic is all over the place. Do you remember, some of you might remember this name, some of you might not. Does the name Sandra Fluck ring a bell with you? Well, Sandra Fluck apparently has been recruited to help the anti-net neutrality forces marshal their action today to protest the vote, which is going to happen, and the Obama-era net neutrality regulations are going to be relaxed, which is good for an open internet. Sandra Fluck has tweeted that killing net neutrality would kill access to abortion information. Before tomorrow's vote, take action with NARAL to demand the FCC keep internet open for reproductive freedom. In other words, if they get rid of net neutrality, women are no longer going to be able to find out where to go, what to do, and how to do it to get an abortion. Tell Congress there is no reproductive freedom without net neutrality. Join us in the fight to save our internet. Sign your name to tell Congress and the FCC that net neutrality is necessary for reproductive. If you've ever had any doubts about what this is, this ought to end them. Net neutrality is nothing but another one of these uber left-wing socialist / communist causes that expands government and gives it total regulatory power over the internet. There are other tweets today claiming climate change depends on net neutrality. If the net neutrality rules and regulations are relaxed today, that's bad for climate change. You want a little irony or hypocrisy? From the Daily Wire, Hollywood celebrities throw Christmas fundraiser for Planned Parenthood. Now you might think, so what, Rush? So what? Well, what is Christmas? It's celebrating the birth, B-I-R-T-H, virgin in front of it, celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. And now you have a variety show fundraiser for the organization that ends the lives of so many babies before they're born. And they are Hollywood. I mean, what is it, 1.3 million abortions a year that have, at the peak? I don't know what it is now. So abortion celebrated all over the left today. Net neutrality. Even have some audio sound bites on this. Let me find where they are, because I didn't know I was going to lead with net neutrality. So bear with me here, folks, while I find out where this stuff is. And this is the first pass. I don't know where it is. So I'm sorry. Whoops. Page 1, cut 3. Okay. Mignon Clyburn She's the daughter of James Clyburn of the Congressional Black Caucasians. She is a Democrat member of the Federal Communications Commission. And this morning outside the FCC during a protest over the ending of net neutrality, Mignon Clyburn, nickname here is Steak. Steak Clyburn had this to say.
We're right next door to a place that is going to make a significant decision today. But we're right next door to some people who speak for those who recognize that equality over the internet is a right. This is about internet equality.
Here we go.
This is about internet equality. And you've got two people that will sit in those chairs today, and they will be your voices for internet equality. But you've got a court system, you've got Congress people, you've got millions of people who are in your corner, and we will achieve internet equality. Internet equality. Net neutrality. We
what? She got
will
confused there.
win at the end of the day.
What is that? Internet neutrality? She meant to say internet net neutrality. Never has there been a more misnamed, fraudulent, phony issue than net neutrality. They want you to think that putting the government in charge of it and regulating it is going to keep everybody on it equal and the same. It's the exact opposite. They want to turn the internet into a utility is what they mean. They want it regulated like the power company is and like the phone company is. They want it regulated by the federal government because they run the federal government in their minds. And they want control over the internet, and they want to be able to punish the cable providers, and they want to be able to punish the ISPs. They want to punish AT&T. They want to punish Comcast. They want to pay. They hate them. The only thing that young people care about on the internet is Netflix. If you could find a way to make Netflix free, they would forget about opposing anything else you wanted to do there. It's a bit of an exaggeration. Here's Ed Markey, Democrat. He's a senator now from Massachusetts. He was also at the net neutrality protest.
This is a fundamental issue of equality. This is about ensuring that people, without fear that they will be cut off, can say Black Lives Matter. Si, se puede.
What?
That they can say, yes, she persisted. That it is possible for any voice, no matter how small, to be online. That any company, no matter how small, can get online without fear of having themselves tipped upside down and having money shaken out of their pockets by the big broadband barons.
So we must have net neutrality so that we can have Black Lives Matter and so that she can say she persists and so that we can make fools of ourselves. And then you go back to Sandra Fluck. We need net neutrality or women are not going to be able to find out how to get abortions. It's like magic, folks. When the FCC votes to roll back Obama-era oppressive regulation of the internet, immediately women are going to be walking around dazed and confused, not knowing where to go to abort their babies, not knowing where to go to find out where to go, not knowing where to go to find out how to do it, not even to find out where the back alleys are. Because net neutrality is going to take away all of that information. Net neutrality is going to take away Black Lives Matter. The people who believe in Black Lives Matter somehow magically are going to lose access to the internet. You think this is about the internet. You look at these people making fools of themselves in this protest, the things they're saying. If anything should tell you that this is nothing but the latest dazzling cause of the day for the Uber lift, it's all these sound bites. Here's Chuck U. Schumer in Washington on the Senate floor.
If net neutrality is eliminated, the internet may resemble a toll road with the highest bidders cruising along private fast lanes, while the rest of us inch along on a single traffic-choked public lane. We could be forced to purchase internet packages much like cable packages, paying for more popular sites. It's hard to imagine an entrepreneur building the world's next revolutionary billion-dollar company while she sits in a bumper-to-bumper traffic online.
All right, well, let me ask you a question. Obama-era net neutrality rules are basically 2 years old. The internet came into existence from literally nothing and blossomed into what it was with anything you wanted. You could find anything you wanted And you could buy different speeds, you could buy different packages, you could buy whatever you could afford, you could buy whatever you wanted, and look at what happened to the internet. It grew and grew and grew, and these people in Washington are sitting there seething that they don't have any control over it. They are seething that this massive thing, which is getting everybody involved. There was more free speech on the internet when it first started and for the next 15 years than there's ever been anywhere. There was more access to information the first 15 years of the internet when it was unregulated than anything ever in human history. New companies were born, large and small. Some succeeded, some failed. But it was look at what's happened to the tech industry with a free and open internet. For the first 15 years that Obama and his crowd figures out, we don't have any control over this. We want to get our mitts in it. Think back 10, 15 years. How bad was the internet? Look at all that was there, and it was free. You want the New York Times? It was free. You want anything? It was free because they didn't know how to monetize it at first. Then they started doing paywalls, but that had nothing to do with internet regulation. It had to do with profit. So if you wanted to read the New York Times on the internet and you didn't have a subscription, lo and behold, you had to pay for it. Why would that be? Well, that costs them to produce it or anything else. My point is the first 15 years of the internet, you could do anything you wanted on it. You could access anything you wanted on it. It was wide open. It grew and it created multi-billionaires left and right. There was nothing wrong with it except the left didn't have their hands on it. Here comes Obama, net neutrality. Net neutrality is the same as affordable health care for all Americans. There was nothing affordable about Obamacare, was there? Remember, you get to keep your doctor, keep your plan if you like it. They're doing the same lying technique here with net neutrality. Got to take a break. Don't go away. We've only had net neutrality for a couple of years. What did women do to find out where to go to get abortions before that? Anybody know? How did it happen? Must have been really tough. Must have been really arduous. Because you go back 3, 4, 5, far back as many years as you want, we didn't have net neutrality, and yet abortions happened. How? Now, the tax bill. There's a lot going on in this tax bill. Well, you be the judge. Snurdly asked me, is it good? CNN had a poll I saw right as the program was starting that only 26% of the American people support it. I don't know what poll it was. I didn't notice. I've seen other polling data which shows that it's not got big numbers of support. Now stop and think of that. Tax cuts does not seem to have majority support, and neither did Obamacare. Don't misunderstand. I'm not saying the polls are going to stop them from doing it. I'm actually talking more about how in the world can you be promoting the biggest tax cut in American history? 26% of the American people favor it. 74% oppose it. Look at it that way. That's number one. Well, I'll tell you why. It's what the drive-bys have done to it. They said the only people getting a tax cut are big business and the rich. And then the loss of deductibility for state and local income taxes. A lot of people love deductions. When they denied deductions for credit card interest back in 1988, 80, whatever, people blew up over that, even though it didn't matter a hill of beans. But then, there are two senators that may not even make the vote, McCain and Thad Cochran. And if McCain is able, he's in Walter Reed, he's got some bad reaction to cancer medication. If he is able to show up, how is he going to vote? It's not a slam dunk in the Senate by any stretch. I think the vote's not till next week. The views expressed by the host on this program, documented to be almost always right, 99.8% of the time. And we're going to go to the phones. We had a guy on a couple days ago, unable to get to him. We asked if we could call him back. He said, yes, of course. I'd do anything to appear with you on your show. So here he is. Dave in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. Hi, Dave. Great to have you. Thank you for letting us call you back.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rush. Merry Christmas from a 24/7 subscriber.
Thank you, sir, very much.
This is, it was 25 years ago this week. I saw a billboard with your name on it when I was living in Durham, North Carolina, and I tuned in for the first time, and I've been a listener ever since. And I thank you for all that you do. You kept reassuring us for the last 8 years that it's not time to panic, and I can't tell you what a gift that's been.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm also gratified to learn that billboards work.
It did in this case, absolutely. I had a question. I remember back in the 90s when the economy turned around during Clinton's presidency, you pointed out to us that it was not because of his policies, but it was a lasting impact of the policies of Ronaldus Magnus.
Yep.
The reason I'm asking about this right now is last week, while Obama continues his Don't Forget About Me tour, he was at a mayor's conference in Chicago, and he took credit for the current economic growth that we're experiencing right now.
Of course he did.
I'm having some debates with liberal friends of mine who are saying, well, if Reagan got credit for Clinton's economy, why shouldn't Obama get credit for Trump's economy?
Well, that's an excellent question. I'm going to arm you here with the answers. Let's first revisit a little history. The Reagan economic boom actually began before Reagan left office. There were two recessions that Reagan, one inherited in the second recession of 81 and 82, shortly after he was inaugurated. Then the phased-in tax cuts began to work. And by the time Reagan left office, this economy was roaring and the deficit was coming down, interest rates were coming down, and employment was going up. And then George W. Bush is elected, and that economy continued. And then shortly before 1992, sometime in 1990 or 91, there was a little recessionary dip, and it coincided with the Democrat presidential campaign of Bill Clinton. He and Al Gore formed a phrase, worst economy in the last 50 years. And it wasn't. It was a 6-month recessionary dip. The reasons for it are inexplicable. The economy's too big and too complicated to explain what happened for 6 months. But Clinton and the media successfully sold worst economy in the last 50 years. It got Bush defeated. There were other factors, too. Then Clinton comes in. All during his campaign, he's promising a middle-class tax cut. And then 3 months after he's inaugurated, he says he's never worked harder, but he just can't do it. There just isn't a way. Bush had not told him how bad the economy was. So they manufactured, and people fell for it. I can remember being so damn frustrated here. People fell for the idea that it was the worst economy in the last 50 years because the media was pumping it day in and day out, and it wasn't. So the momentary recessionary thing went away, and the foundation of the Reagan economic boom never went away because Clinton didn't raise taxes. He did limit the deductibility of corporate CEO pay at $1 million, but the Reagan Economy Foundation was so strong that it survived whatever liberal Democrat policies of Clinton, and it just kept roaring. So the Clinton economy would not have happened. It would not have had it not been for the foundation of Reagan. Now let's move forward to Obama. Your friends say we've got a roaring economy now, and you wouldn't let Clinton take credit for it. It was Reagan, but now you want Trump to get credit for it and not Obama. Right. Here's what you tell them. Remind them, all during the 8 years of Obama, how we were told a declining economy was the new normal. That America had an unreal period of economic growth and that it was somewhat artificial. And America was now stabilizing. There had been things that were really not justified. And what we were dealing with now was Obama telling us to manage the decline. Obama told us the days of massive GDP were over. And in fact, during 8 years of Obama, we never had a gross domestic product in any quarter anywhere near 3%. We had massive tax increases. We had Obamacare. We had the federal government literally steal 1/6 of the U.S. economy by taking health care under its wing. That took 1/6 of the economy out of the economy and put it in control of the government, which doesn't know how to make money, which is not supposed to. It just redistributes it. So Obama didn't even sell a great economy when he was in office. Right. That wasn't his mission, was to try to condition people that the best days were behind us. That there was a new normal, that America had to pay a price for its economic superpower status of the past, that it was unjustified, that we had become an economic superpower by stealing resources from other nations. We were told that we didn't deserve our superpower military status because we were imposing our way of life on other nations. Obama did his best to condition people not to expect massive economic growth ever again because what they had lived through was not really justified, because it had been built on the backs of slaves, it had been built on the backs of the poor, it had been built on the backs of foreign countries, and now things were stabilizing. Obama literally did not sell a massive growing economy. He tried to promote jobs by having the government do seminars in the White House. Okay, so now Obama leaves.